Khiva is the most picturesque old city along the Silk Road. The city's old world charm remains after thousands of years. A formidable mud castle wall surrounds the settlement, protecting countless heritage sites. There are old palaces, madrasas, mosques, and minarets, all covered in bright blue tiles that contrast so well against the desert landscape. Old market streets weave through the old city, taking you back in time when silk and spices ruled the world. Khiva was one of my favorite stops in Uzbekistan, and here's how it went.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to Khiva, Uzbekistan. I've just taken an 11-hour train ride overnight from Samarkand all the way to the western part of Uzbekistan here, and we're right on the south of the border. We're only about 5 miles from Turkmenistan, so not too far from there. And Khiva, so far from what I've seen, it's just going to be this cute little like medieval castled walled city, and on the map it's about less than half a mile by about a quarter mile wide. So it's going to be this tiny little small town that's going to be really fun to explore. And Khiva has really ancient history. In fact, there's even some legend that the son of Noah was one of the founders of this establishment thousands of years ago. But most of the walled city that we're going to see here, it was built in the 1500s. And so there's this old mud brick wall that kind of surrounds this old city, and there's going to be a bunch of old mosques, madrasas, minarets, and just beautiful tiled buildings all throughout here. So I'm really looking forward to just wandering around this old town, getting lost, going to little tea houses, and just experiencing the small town of Khiva here. My guest house is right on the outside the western gate of the old town here, so we're gonna enter through the western gate here and wander around, and I'll show you guys what we find along the way through Khiva. So right as you enter the western gate here, you're just greeted by this beautiful, tall, tiled minaret called the Kalta Minor, and then you have the Amin Khan Madrassah right next to it, which is this big madrasa Islamic school that has beautiful tiling and some nice minarets. And then right as you enter to the right, there's this nice little map that's on like this blue tile that just matches the city, that gives you an overlay of the city of Khiva here. So it has this nice thing, and it puts out all the landmarks that you can check out throughout the old town here. So pretty cool, it gets me excited to explore this old town, so let's go ahead and wander and get lost. It's actually a school holiday, so there's like tons of like school children and screaming kids all in the background. So it's going to be a very busy day to be exploring this little small old city here. So I'm going to have to try to find some like quiet corners. But right as you enter the gate there's that map, and then there's a little bit of like shopping here, and then you see the Kalta Minor, which is one of the most iconic landmarks here in Khiva and Uzbekistan, and one of the possibly most beautiful minarets in all of Central Asia. And it's called Kalta Minor. It means the short minaret because in the 1850s, when Muhammad Amin Khan was building this, he wanted to build the tallest minaret in all of the Islamic world, and his goal was to build 70 to 80 meters high, this minaret, but it was only about 29 meters, which is what it is now, about 90 feet. He actually died and construction just completely halted, but it was still just covered in all of these beautiful blue cerulean tiles that are still covering it today. So it just has this beautiful glossy blue look to it, and it's just one of the most beautiful pieces here, and you see it right as you enter the gate. And then right next to it is the Muhammad Amin Khan Madrassah, which is the Islamic school that he set up as well. So let's check out this minaret and madrasa from the 1850s. I've just entered the main courtyard of the madrasa here. It's this nice open field. There's a little bit of flowers, some gardens, some benches, and the madrasa, it was once a Islamic school, and a lot of the students lived here, and there were about 260 students living in these dormitories, and now it's been converted into a nice like luxury 5-star hotel right in the old city here. So all of the dormitories that used to house the students are now turned into hotel rooms. But from this inner courtyard here, we just again have all these beautiful archways, a lot of mud brick, but then you have the accenting of the blue tiles that have a lot of detail, and then you can see a little bit of the top of the minaret poking above the courtyard here. So nice, calm, peaceful place. I'm sure it would be a lovely place to stay, probably really expensive, but beautiful spot right in the heart of Old Town. And yeah, you have this like this old architecture style, and it's really pretty. So yeah, let's walk around the courtyard a little bit, and then we'll head back to the Old Town. Right across the street from the Imam Khan Madrassah and the tall minaret is the Kunya Ark, and this is an old palace from the mid 1600s, and it was where the Khans of this town lived. So there's like a couple palaces where they lived, and some greeting rooms. There's 2 mosques, a summer and a winter mosque here, and we'll only see a couple of the buildings here because there's still some ruins of the original buildings here. And then it's right on the edge of the old fortress of the city here, and it's kind of like a walled city within this walled city. So there's like a wall that surrounds these palaces here. So we'll be able to get up onto the wall a little bit too and look over the walled city here of Khiva. So yeah, let's head in and check out this old palace. As you enter the Kunya Ark, there's this kind of like open courtyard with some ruins, and then you go into this back room, and there's just this beautiful wall with incredible blue tiles, and then there's these wooden pillars that have such intricate carvings, and then we'll head in behind the tiles there, and I think it'll be one of the residences of the Khan here. So let's head in and appreciate like the beautiful tiling on this wall, and then head in and see what's behind the wall. All right guys, I've just stepped up to the entryway to one of the rooms of the palace here, and there's just such incredible blue detailed tiling here. And then actually looking up on the ceiling, it's like a wooden ceiling that's painted, and it has a more kind of earthy tone to it, not the bright blue of everything else here, but still just beautiful intricate artwork up there. So this is the entryway. Let's head in and see what's behind the wall. I've just entered that back room here behind the blue tiled wall, and it's actually the throne room for the Khan. So this is where he would do a lot of his ruling, and it's just this beautiful color in here. It's like a teal blue painting along with like this golden accent along all the walls here. Very beautiful. That was a beautiful throne room, nice little courtyard here. On some of the side rooms here, there's some museums showing some maps of the empire, some old paintings, old armor, old artifacts and everything. So let's kind of keep exploring the palace here and see what else there is. In the back right corner here, there's some stairs that'll take us up to the top of the tower, and we can see the wall, and we'll be able to see a little bit of the old city from an elevated view. So let's head up these stairs. I've just made it to the top of the palace here, and we're on top of the fortress wall, and you can look out and see all of the old town of Khiva here. You can see some of the tall minarets. You can see the Kalta Minor that we just explored right before this. You can look down into the palace grounds a little bit, and you can see all of the city that's surrounding us here. And then on the other side there, you get this beautiful view of the castle wall and the way it kind of zigzags around the city, and you get this really cool layered effect of all of the terraces of the wall of the fortress here. So very beautiful views overlooking Khiva. Alright, I've come back down to the main level of the palace here, and right at the main entrance there, if you take a turn to the right, you can come over here and see another courtyard, and there's another beautiful mosque with beautiful blue tiles and a couple small minarets, but beautiful tiled mosques. So let's check this out. Similar to the other little blue awning room, we just have these incredible detailed blue tiles, and then looking at the ceiling, we have these wooden pillars that support this wooden ceiling that's painted in a completely different color scheme and different color style, but just beautiful being surrounded in this completely blue tiled room. Alright guys, so that was the Kunya Ark, this old palace within the walled city of Khiva, and just amazing architecture, seeing some of the ruins here, and then just amazing tiles and ceilings, and then some of the columns were just incredible, and then getting up on the wall and having a nice lookout over the old town of Khiva was really beautiful. Anyways, let's head back out to the walled city and keep exploring and wandering and seeing what else we find. I've just made it outside the Juma Mosque here, and there's this massive minaret that has just a few teal stripes that go around the outside here, but it's a really tall minaret. And again, the original Friday Mosque was built in the 10th century here, and then the modern one was built in the 17th century, but inside there's still a few columns holding it up that are from the 10th and 11th century, and then some that are more modern, and then some of the carved doors are still from the 1300s. So let's head into the Friday Mosque here and check it out. I've just entered the Friday Mosque here, which again is about 1,000 years old, and there's 213 of these wooden columns that are supporting the wooden ceiling, and it's a very unlike any mosque I've ever been in before. It's not so decorative, although some of these wooden pillars are quite decorative, but of the 213 of these old pillars, 23 of them are still from the 10th century. Yeah, just very unique mosque because it doesn't have quite all of like the detailing and the intricacy, and doesn't really have like that high of a ceiling. There's a couple of these skylights that let a little bit of natural light into the middle of the mosque here, but it's mostly just these rows and rows of wooden columns here. So just across the street from the Juma Mosque, there's a tea house, and there's lots of these little tea houses here, but it's getting kind of hot this afternoon, so I'm just going to take a little break here, relax, get some good local Uzbek food, get a tea, get a beer, and just relax a little bit, take a couple hours to just chill, let the crowds die down, let the heat die down a little bit, and then we'll go out and keep exploring the rest of Khiva this afternoon. So I'll see you guys in a couple hours. About 3:30 now this afternoon, and I'm gonna keep exploring the old town of Khiva here. And so just a block away from the cafe I was at is the Islam Khoja, which is one of the tallest minarets here in Khiva, and you can see it from basically all throughout the old town, and it has these beautiful tiles in layers going all the way up the minaret, and the minaret's about 53 meters tall. So let's head over to the Islam Khoja and check out the minaret and the madrassah and mosque that accompany it. I've just made it to the base of the Islam Khoja Mosque, and it is really big when you're right beneath it, but it's an extra $10 to go up to the top of the minaret, which I bet would be amazing views of the old city. But I've already paid $15 to be able to enter all of the museums and all of the historical sites here, so it's not included in that $15 ticket, so you have to pay an extra $10. So I don't know if I'm going to bother going up now. If I were to go up, I'd go up during sunset or some better timing for lighting. But right next to the minaret is the old madrassah, which is turned into a museum, so that's included in my ticket. So I think I'm going to head in there and check out the old madrassah that was accompanying the Islam Khoja Mosque. And the Islam Khoja Mosque, even though it was built in like the early 1900s, but it was built in the style of the mid 1400s to kind of accompany the rest of the old town here in Khiva. So yeah, it has an older style look, even though it's a much more modern minaret and mosque. So let's head into the madrassah and check out the museum there. So that was the Islam Khoja Museum here, and all along the Madrassah, where there used to be like a bunch of the dormitories and classrooms, around this inner courtyard there were a bunch of like old Uzbekistan artifacts, a bunch of old clothing, vases, tiles, tombstone inscriptions, and some photos of what Khiva used to look like. So yeah, pretty interesting. Again, a lot of these madrasas have been turned into museums here, and they all start to have like a similar look and style to them, with this courtyard, the blue tiles, and the mud bricks. But this one's just distinct because it has the highest minaret in all of the old town. Anyways, that's it for the Islam Khoja. Let's head out and explore more of the old town of Khiva. I'm just leaving that other mosque here, and the streets of Khiva are just so fun to explore. There's so many little shops and just winding alleys to kind of get lost in here, and it just has this, really throws you back in time. Like you really feel like you're back in like the 1500s, height of the Silk Road, all of these markets around. guys, I've just made it to the far eastern part of the old town of Khiva here, and we have yet another madrasa ala Kunya. And again, it just has the same kind of shape. All of the architecture is starting to just look the same here. This like amazing archway with these blue tiles and mud bricks. And it's amazing just the concentration of madrasas and mosques and mausoleums and minarets just in this tiny little town. Because like the whole walk that I've done today has only been about a quarter of a mile. And we've seen all of these monuments just within that quarter mile on this main street. And again, one of the most fun parts here is just wandering a little bit through some of the back streets here. There's so many cool shops. There's so many cool like handicraft, handmade souvenirs. There's like a knife shop, silk shops, carpet shops. So there's a lot of different shops that you can kind of explore when you get off the main road here. But then even on the main road, there's just so many markets, and again, just has this like ancient trading route, Silk Road feel to it. So right behind me is the Tosh Hovli, which was another one of the old royal palaces here, and it's on the eastern part of the old town and right near this eastern gate. So let's head over here and check out the Tosh Hovli. So right near the eastern edge of the town here, we've reached the Tosh Kali Palace, which was built in the 1830s, and this was the home of the rulers, the Khans of this region during the 1800s, 1900s. And so it's again another palace. We saw another palace earlier that was a bit older than this one, and so this was like the newer palace that replaced that one. That's kind of a little bit more central, but there's this massive wall that surrounds the whole palace. So let's head into the Tosh Kali and check out the palace here. As soon as we enter the palace here, we're in this long, narrow courtyard. It's like this massive rectangle, and all around the edges here we have just these beautiful blue tiling. It's like starting to all look the same, but it's just so beautiful, all the different blue tiles, and you have so many different patterns and textures along this wall here. And then along the other side of the wall you have like 5 of these open rooms that open up to the courtyard that are just covered floor to ceiling in these beautiful blue tiles, and they have these wooden pillars supporting the second floor that are just so intricately carved. So let's check out a lot of these open air rooms over here along this courtyard of the palace. Alright guys, that was the Tosh Hovli, the second palace here within the old city of Khiva. And yeah, just another beautiful building. Love this like open courtyard, and then inside some of those like rooms off the side of the courtyard you could see there was like a throne room, a bedroom, a couple of rooms that you could see the inside of, and then all the way at the end there's a small museum with some of like the old clothing from the era and some old photos of Khiva and some of the rulers of the time. So very cool. I'm starting to like get all of these buildings a little confused in my head, and I'm sure you are too watching this video of seeing all of this blue tile and mud brick, but very beautiful. So let's head out here and we'll explore a little bit more of the old town stuff. So that's about it for the old town of Khiva here, this old walled city along the Silk Road. Very fun place to explore, just such a unique vibe to it, and it's just such a small town. There's no cars, it's all walking streets within the walled city here. And outside of that main street where like almost all of the mosques and the madrasas and cafes are, a lot of these other back streets are just kind of quiet, and it's just fun to explore and wander around. There's a lot of like guest homes and stuff within the walled city here. So you can spend the afternoon just walking around and exploring some of these back streets, seeing all of the mud brick homes and really enjoying it. But yeah, just such a high concentration of these old mosques and madrasas and mausoleums all throughout the old city here, and just the whole city is just filled with like these blue tiles and these archways, and just has such a Central Asia feel to it. And it really feels like you're just back in the era of the Silk Road, taken back to the 1400s here with all of these historic buildings. So yeah, and you only really need about a day to see most everything. And I think I'll have like another day and a half here, and I really look forward to just kind of slowly meandering these streets, cafe hopping, doing some street photography, and just finding different angles and just really enjoying taking it slow here in this really small town. I love how it's all condensed into this one old city, so you know there's kind of limits to your exploration, so it's not like you can wander forever. So that'll be it for me from here in Khiva, and the next couple days I'll be going to Bukhara, another really important and much larger stop along the Silk Road here across Uzbekistan. So yeah, look forward to seeing you guys in Bukhara. So we'll see you guys next time.